You have to go. You're there, so stay on top. Never give up. Let's go.
Exato. Amém.
Lift your mind. Your spirit needs to wear. Feel the burn. Come on, y'all. Don't get now. Transformer. 2, 1, let's go.
How are you guys tonight? The word on the street is we could have another school delay tomorrow.
We don't already have school tomorrow. Like, they already closed.
They already closed, did they? Jesse just put in the, the app that we have that tells you what the percentages are if there'll be a delay. So seeing if there'll be a delay tomorrow. She's like, this is awesome. I haven't really been to a full week at school, in a long time. And we're gone again next week. She's got auditions again next week. So she's like, this is a really awesome second semester senior year for me right now.
Will she have to make days up? I know we have to make our 3.
Yeah, I think that she said that there's a couple, that they'll probably have to make up a couple. I don't think it'll change graduation date, or it'll be everyone else and not seniors or something, who knows at that point, like, really? You're going to make these poor seniors make up the 2 days? I don't know. We'll see. They're already so checked out right now that we're just counting the days till May 30th, which is exactly how it should be, people. If you don't have high schoolers yet, you want them to get to this point and be ready to move on to the next chapter of their life. You do not want them wanting to live in your basement. Your job is to launch them. Let them out.
I think I'm good with 2 dogs. Like, more than good.
I have those too, though.
You have 2 dogs also?
I have 2 dogs, and there's a strong campaign in my house for me to get a 3rd one when Jesse leaves to go to college. They're like, Mom, you need a 3rd dog next year.
I don't even know. I don't have words.
I would have a lot of dogs if I didn't also like to travel, probably.
Exactly. That's the struggle is real for that. I know. Yeah, same.
It is. That's hard. And they get very, just like humans in my house, they get very out of sorts when Mom's not there. Life doesn't run very well in anyone's house, probably, when Mom's gone. So whether they're dogs, kids, husbands, whatever, when we were gone.
And then you got to come back and clean up the mess.
Correct. I know. Get everyone back on schedule. And last week, my husband texted me. He's like, so when are you coming home again? I'm like, the same time I've been coming home this entire time that you've known. He's like, it's like you've been gone 6 months. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I know, honey.
That's so funny.
Oh, okay. Let me turn some things off here.
Speaking of dogs, this one who can't, what?
Hi, cutie. Hi, cutie. Look at him.
He's scared of everything in life. So he's just trying to get behind me to sit behind me. Literally scared of everything.
Oh.
Don't mind me. Just going to hang out.
Hi, cutie pie. What will you do with him this weekend?
So I have a house sitter who is with them more than me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a guest.
One of our friends, my photographer, actually, they're taking their family to Disney for a couple days in February, and they have a new puppy. And I'm like, did you need someone to watch the puppy? And my husband's like, do not even be offering. I'm like, it's like a baby fix. If I just have a little puppy for a few days and then I'll give the puppy back. And
just temporarily. Yeah.
Temporarily. Okay, well, we'll get started because I know Chip's got other things he has to do tonight.
Tonight/in the morning, always.
Lots of stuff going on. Lots of stuff going on. Chip and I have talked to each other more in the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Yes, it's good. It's a good thing.
I know. All good things. # all good things. Okay, so we'll get started. It's already recording, but welcome to our special edition. This is like our Super Bowl Thursday special edition team call. Normally we'd be on Sunday night, but as I've said before, Super Bowl in our house, I learned this 25 years ago. It is a national holiday in our house when you're married to a football coach. And I inadvertently scheduled the team call for Sunday night. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa. No, that can't happen. So we have a special Thursday night call. Thanks to Chip for being able to accommodate that tonight and being flexible with his schedule. And for those of you that might not know, Chip and I have been friends forever. It's like the conversation Melissa McAllister and I had in New York. Like, now, wait, how long have we been friends? Like, we can't even remember a time where we sort of didn't know each other. And fitness friends make the best friends. And, that's kind of how we all know each other, too, through this fitness business. And I think fitness friends make the best kind of friends. And Chip and I have been friends for a long time. And as he put on his story this week, I certified him. He did my turbo kick training. It's so crazy. So, because I'm like 800 years old. So we did some turbo together, and now we're going to do some transform step live together. And Chip is a master trainer. He's also the format expert for the new step format, and he's a member of Shaun T's team. He is backstage doing some of the choreo for Shaun during the filming, and has just really been around the Beachbody world before, like me, before it was Beachbody, now it's Beachbody, in and out, doing all kinds of stuff and being a real integral part of that. So he's kind of Shaun's right-hand man now. He is Shaun's chaos and Chip's calm. I think work really well together. So he's also, you might not know, very skilled at social media. So tonight we are focusing on Instagram stories, and social media. So Chip's going to share some of his stories with us, his background story, and then his expertise on stories. So make sure you're taking good notes, taking lots and lots of notes, because I think we're going to get some really amazing information on this tonight. Also, hit speaker view. So Chip takes up your screen and not our Brady Bunch. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Chip. Take it away.
Oh my gosh, thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it. It's crazy that it was 10 years ago this year that Julie trained me in Turbo Kick. And I guess you could look at the evolution of my journey and just figure it out. But I have to say that it was because of the impact that she made on me during that day that literally changed the trajectory of my career. I was planning to go to college to be a police officer, still did do that. But there was always this thing in the back of my mind, there's something to this fitness thing. There's something to it. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. I can it's inside me now, and I just have to figure out how to execute. And it was because of that Turbo Kick certification in Indianapolis that it forced me to wrestle with the idea of fitness, and then say, but how do I pursue it, and how can I make this something that's a part of my life? And several years later, it came to fruition. And obviously, like she said in her introduction, you may have seen my face in the Transform 20 workout videos and the modifier view. I'm so grateful to be able to say that I helped Shaun develop the program. We started developing it about June of last year. And I really started to step into this role of being creative and just being able to have an impact on a lot of areas of his business. One of those being what I'm here to talk to you about is social media. So I do run his social media. I run strategy. I run marketing. And then I also, in the past, previous to Shaun, which is kind of how Shaun and I got linked up to begin my work with him, I've managed social media for Beachbody. I've also managed social media for Equinox. It's a world-renowned fitness chain that you might know of. And I've also consulted for 24-hour fitness for social media strategy. So I've been around the bubble. And I just what I want to share with you tonight are ways that you can, what I like to say is humanize your social media. In this Beachbody ecosystem that we live in, there's so many different strategies and solutions and systems out there that I'm sure many amazing coaches have given you to help you propel your social media forward. I've used a lot of them myself, and I hope that by sharing with what I have for you tonight, it just will maybe give you some ideas to add a style to your social media, or maybe help you think of things in a different way that you haven't yet thought of. So I want to start by saying I use fitness analogies a lot because I've been in this world for a while. So I like to think of social media strategies as all of our Beachbody workout programs. They all work if you just do them, if you just commit and you go along through the process and you do it for more than a day and you stick to something. So that's kind of where I want to begin this process tonight. And I want you to start with a really strong foundation with social media, and we're going to focus on Instagram. But I want to start by saying that the lead in that I have to this conversation is going to apply to all areas of your social media. Instagram is just where it's at right now. So that's where I suggest you begin. And I want you to kind of like drown out the noise, right? Like there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's Snapchat. I want you to drown out the noise, and I want you to get really good at something first. And I'm suggesting to you that be Instagram, because that's where so much engagement and traction is going to come from. And I really think that Instagram gives you an opportunity to be real, whereas a lot of other social media platforms are consumed with people trying to run a business. Not to say that Instagram isn't, but I think it allows you the opportunity to just be you and not have the pressure of trying to just build a business, because everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants to get in shape. Everyone wants to have the best social media. Everyone wants to have all the comments and all the likes and all the engagement, all the DMs. We all want that because we know that that will translate into business. However, only if you make it. It's only going to work if you're going to do the work. And so that's where we begin tonight. So I want you to think about, and if you're taking notes on your phone or on your notepad, I want you to just write down at the very, very top the number 5. Because everything we're going to talk about tonight is going to come in 5s. So the first thing that I want you to identify tonight is 5 what I would call social media mentors. And I say that because I like to steer away from the term of influencers, because influencers can simply mean that you bought 20,000 followers, right? Like, and when I think of influencers, true influencers, I think of people who have an impact on my thought process. Because when I think of someone who influences me, that inspires me, and they have impact on me to want to make change. So you can call it an influencer, you can call it someone who's impactful, you can call it a social media mentor from afar. But I want you to think about 5 people who you would seek out, you would search their profile on social media if you didn't see something pop up in your feed from them. Like you think, oh, I want to know what Julie's up to. I want to know like what Sean is up to, like whoever those 5 people may be. And I really, and I'm not going to like make this a hard rule, but I really hope that 3 of these are people unaffiliated with our Beachbody world. Like people that you can really tap into certain characteristics of their brand and say, oh man, I love to follow that person because they give the best life hacks, or they give the best cooking tutorials, or they give the best hair braiding tips, like whatever it may, or the best like packing tips when you travel, whatever it may be, you know that person's niche, and that's why you follow them. So 5 social media mentors or 5 influencers that you would put on a list that you would check up on the regular. Cool? So moving on from that, the next number 5 that I want to give you are 5 elements of your brand, 5 things that make you unique. I'm going to make this really easy for you. One of those areas of your brand is fitness. If you're on this call, if you're a part of this team, fitness is one of those staples of your brand. Cool. So a lot of people call this like categories, or they call it buckets, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it elements of your brand. So a cool way, and this is going to be one of those areas that may stump you, right? Like you may think, okay, let me really try to figure out how I can hone in on my brand. So a good way, and I started with the 5 influencers so that you could have a place to go from this. A good way to identify those 5 elements of your brand that make you unique is look at who your 5 social media influencers or mentors are. What do they represent? I just gave you some examples of types of those influencers as we talked through that. And I want you to start to take note of the people you follow outside of our Beachbody world. Because I know Julie, and I know that Beachbody, I know that we all give you the training that it takes to run your business. But I want you to specifically dial in on how you can set yourself apart as an entrepreneur. And that's not just how you post about the business opportunity. It's not just how you post about your workouts every day, but it's how you represent you as a brand. And this may sound extreme, but it's my goal for you to build a brand so solid and so strong that if like we found out Shakeology had crack in it tomorrow, people would come to you and they'd be like, okay, so now what do we do? Right? Like they're not following you just based on Beachbody. They're following you because they love mostly everything about you and what your brand embodies. So coming back into those 5 elements of your brand, look at the people who you've identified as your mentors. And then if you are still stumped on those 5 areas of focus for your brand, I want you to then look at the people that the mentors that you've selected, look at who they follow. Because there's a good chance the people that they're following are also people who are representative of things that you might take an interest in. Example, a lot of authors follow authors, other authors in the same subject line of personal development, business building, entrepreneurship, self-care, like whatever it may be. They follow people who are aligned with their goals and their visions. A lot of podcast hosts follow other podcasters because, again, they get each other and they're in that same type of ecosystem. Just like you probably follow a lot of other Beachbody coaches for motivation, for inspiration, for ideas, for just to follow them and be a part of their world. So it's my hope that you can identify those 5 elements of your brand and then begin to put in what I call content rotation. So this is super important, and this is really what's going to set you apart from every other little tile of a person that you see on your screen tonight, your teammates. And many of these will overlap between you, and that's cool and that's natural, but I want you guys to think about those 5 elements of your brand and get in the habit of posting something other than what's comfortable to you, right? Like as a fitness coach, as a motivator, as a group exercise instructor, whatever it is that you call yourself, we have a tendency of doing things in our comfort zone. And we're really good at challenging people to get out of their comfort zone. Hey, try this new workout. Like, I know Shanti's crazy, but I promise you it's only 20 minutes a day and you won't die. We're good at that. We're good at coaching people out of their comfort zone. But how good can we be at doing it ourselves when it comes to things outside of our workout? One of those being social media. Like, gone are the days where you can say, oh yeah, I don't get social media. I can't figure it out. Like, those days are over. Like, if that's you need to change your mindset. That's like somebody saying, I don't have time to work out. Like, we all know that isn't the case. It's just out of your comfort zone. And I like to say, like, it's a made up word. I do it sometimes. I'm guilty. Everything is figure outable if you're willing to put in the time that it takes to figure it out. So social media has to be one of those things. So I want you to get in the rotation of those 5 areas of content. Now, this is going to begin to sound like a process, and it is, and it's supposed to be. You probably have processes in other areas of your life, right? Like before your workout, you're going to drink Energize. After your workout, you might take Recover. You might drink Shakeology. You might do the cool down. Like, there are processes in place to help make you successful. The same should be in place for your social media. And the structure and the organization and the process will only make this easier on you so that you're not like turning like everything into procrastination. And so like a lot of my social media posts that just come to mind, I end up putting in my notes and posting at a later date. So like be mindful of that and know that like no one's going to know when you're posting something that maybe happened last week, right? Like no one's going to know that. So I want you to get really good at utilizing the notes section of your phone, or maybe it's a pen and paper if that's your style, and start to take note of those 5 elements of your brand, write them out, jot them out on a piece of paper. And the really cool thing about those 5 elements are you've got Monday through Friday. And I want you to, if that's all you can have for a week, then you can give yourself permission to take a day or 2 days off of social media. If that like gives your brain a break that it needs to recharge and refuel. The first thing I forgot to say at the beginning of this is like, it won't distract me at all if you guys drop questions in the chat, because I know that as I'm going through this, like questions might pop in your mind. So feel free to drop this in the chat. It won't distract me. And at the end, I'll go back and review those and we can like dive in deeper on those kinds of things, because I know we're moving through a lot at a fast pace here. So you've got your 5 elements of your brand. You've identified those. And now it comes to figuring out what content aligns with those. So ideally, and just keeping it real with you, I say everything that I have to say with love, but a lot of support and a lot of belief that you can do it. One of those is fitness. The rest should not be you in your sports bra or you in your tank top or you in your spandex. Like, step outside of your comfort zone. Like, do something different. And I'm not saying like everything has to be done up and like a dress and heels and all of this, but I want you to think of ways to attract people to you, not just for fitness. All of you on this call have something that you're really good at outside of this Beachbody world. Like, you have something, some kind of knowledge, some type of skill or craft that you can educate people on. And maybe it's cooking, and maybe it's baking, and maybe it's sewing, and maybe it's laundry. Like, we could go on and on and on and on. But you have information, you have skills, you have hacks that other people would want to know about. that are totally unrelated to fitness. But once people start to like learn who you are and what you're about and those 5 elements of your brand, that's when they're going to say, oh, you know what? I always see this person posting about working out and joining their group. Like, I really like the way that she talks about the way she prepares meals every week for her family. So because of that, I think that I might just give her a shot, right? Because you've built trust and you've established credibility and people know you for something other than just putting yourself out there as a business. So, and those 5 areas of focus that you have are not just applicable to your feed and when you post, but they're also applicable to your stories. Stories are great because they're only up for 24 hours. But and I'm sure like you guys can think about this, like after I say it's probably be like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The people that you follow or have followed that you don't like their stories, you should know why you don't like them and you should not do that same thing. Like, don't replicate it. Don't copy it. Like, if it's because someone shows you walking, someone shows themselves like driving to work every day and you're like, yeah, I get it. You work every day. You don't have to post it every day. And maybe someone's thinking that about your workouts, like, right? Like maybe that person that desperately needs your help and desperately needs you to coach them through one of your groups, maybe they are like, yeah, I get it. She works out every day, but I'll never be that fit. Like, I posted my 10-year photo today, like my before. It's not really a before and after, but it shows like where I was like 10 years ago today, which is about 70 pounds heavier than I was now. But the funny thing is, like, people don't know that about me if they just started following me. So like, you have to figure out ways to continue to reintroduce you and what you're about to your followers. And I chose the number 5 just because I think that you guys can clearly think of 5 areas of your brand that represent you without too much struggle, without too much writer's block, I like to say. So I want to segue this conversation into specifically Instagram growth strategy, because 5 is the best number, right, Amber? So I want to move this conversation to Instagram growth strategy. And I want to say that, like, no matter how many followers you have, no matter where you are in your business or where you are in growing your Instagram, this will work. Like, it will work. And I'm telling you it works because I wouldn't be telling you the strategy if I didn't use it every single day with myself and with my assistant. So Instagram is quickly picking up on services that automate likes, automate follows, those kinds of things. And most importantly, you don't need it. Like, trust me when I say you don't need it. Like, it's a waste of your money. And so, like, some of you may not even be familiar with it. And if not, that's great. But there are some services out there that auto-like, auto-follow, and auto-populate content for you in hopes of inspiring more growth to your social. And so you don't need that because it's not organic. So I like to say I don't need organic food. I don't eat anything other than organic food, and I don't grow my Instagram any other way than organic. And you should adopt the same mentality when it comes to growing your social media. So the first thing that I want to talk about is hashtags on IG. So I want to be very upfront and say everything I'm telling you is as of today, and it could change tomorrow because that's just social. So the first thing when it comes to hashtags is hashtags are great on your story and hashtags are great in your feed. However, I want you to use hashtags that don't relate to your business. If you use the hashtag Beachbody, you're going to get other coaches who follow that hashtag attracted to you. And like, what good does that do you, right? Like, it may be 1 or 2 more followers that you get, but is that going to translate into business? No, probably not. Is that going to translate into like you finding like the best Success Club partner just because of the hashtag? Probably not. So I want you to think about hashtags that specifically target your audience of people. Okay, well, how do I know who I'm targeting? Well, you know who you're targeting because you're targeting the people who like those 5 things that you just selected in our chat before. Those are the kinds of areas that you want to begin to target and hashtag. So there's a cool site out there to help give you ideas of trending hashtags. And that site is Display Purposes, maybe .net. Let me tell you this, Display Purposes. It is displaypurposes.com. So if somebody could type that in the chat, that would be great. Displaypurposes.com. And it looks like this. You just simply type in one hashtag to get you started, and it will populate like 30 others at the bottom. And that isn't necessarily for you to just, okay, cool, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. It's there to just like begin that thought process, right? Because hashtags are nothing more than just exposure. And you want more exposure to your social media, but in a real and an authentic type of way. For example, if I'm trying to recruit people for my Transform 20 challenge group, what I wouldn't want to use is hashtag Transform 20, hashtag Beachbody, hashtag Beachbody Coach, hashtag Beachbody On Demand. Because all the people who follow those hashtags already know what it is. So while it may get me a like or 2 or 3, or maybe a follow, that is not worthy of my time. And also you have to think about the possibility of people who follow you because of you being turned off because of that, right? Because there are some people out there that aren't a great representation of our business simply because they don't know any better, because they're not on a Zoom like this, because they're not taking notes and they're not implementing, you know? But you're here and you're willing to do the work, so that's not you. So once you have a good set of hashtags that align with the type of content that you're posting, that's when you can, I like to, there's no like rule, but I like to put those in the comments under my post, just because unless it's relevant to the post, I put it in the comments. And the max that you can post on Instagram is 30, but you don't have to use 30. Like you can use 5, you can use 10, you can use 15, because you want it to be relevant to what you post. Instagram has a reader that will go through the copy of your post, and it will go through the hashtags. And if they don't align, or if something seems off, your account can get what's called blacklisted, meaning that hashtags will no longer become valid to your account. It won't allow people to search your hashtag because Instagram sees that you're abusing it. So that's like high level stuff, but I want to say that to you so that you know, like, no pressure. You don't have to use 30. You don't have to use 25. Like, you can use hashtags that just apply to the copy of your post and make it still be a successful post. So that's the first thing, hashtags. The second thing I want to talk about is stories. So stories works very similarly to your feed when it comes to content. The only difference is it doesn't always necessarily have to be as valuable or as on point with those 5 elements of your brand that we talked about, because it's going to expire in 24 hours. So you probably have a collective group of people that frequently watch your stories. And aside from your friends and your family, that's your warm market. So figuring out ways to connect with your warm market is a great place to begin reaching out to those people first. Like back in the day when I became a coach 10 years ago, we were making lists and we were like calling family members and all this kind of stuff. And now with social media, while it may be like a tad more complicated, it also gives you a lot more opportunity if you're willing to take advantage of the opportunity that social media is presenting to you. One of those being stories. So the thing that you can pretty much always bank on is Instagram, Facebook, because they're the same company, will always give prioritization in the algorithm to functionality that is new, because they want people to use functionality that's new so that they can see if it's something they want to continue to spend development dollars on. I also used to be an app developer at BTW. So I've done a lot, you guys. I've done a lot in my years. So they're going to give prioritization to those things. Now I tell you that so that you can begin to think of cool, creative ways to use new functionality. Like some of the most recent functions include a live stream Q&A on Instagram. So you know that little like question bubble that you can put up on your stories and people can drop questions in? Now you can go live and it will literally look like a game show where it's you on the screen and it's the tile of the question that people ask at the bottom, and you just like answer it and swipe, Like it's so cool. Like we just did it on Sean's social for the first time this Wednesday. Like we did like a coffee talk thing, and it's so freaking cool. Anyway, that's one of the new pieces of functionality. If you're not like well-versed in social media, the idea of going live may be scary to you. Good news, you don't have to. You don't have to. No pressure. You can still build a business. You can still be successful. You don't have to go live. Some of the other functionality that is really taking precedence right now on IG is the survey option where people vote yes or no, and you can customize those. And so the really cool thing is, as of right now, again, this is the way the algorithm is working. The people that you DM with the most frequently and the people who engage with your stories the most frequently, and engaging can mean a few different things. Like maybe they're sending your story to someone else, or maybe they're replying to your story, or maybe they're clicking all the way through your story. Those people will show up first at the top row of stories for you. So why am I telling you that? Well, most importantly, because I think people underutilize DMs. If there are people that you're trying to get your story in front of, then you should DM with them more often. because your Instagram will read the algorithm to say, oh, she's communicating more and more and more and more with this person. So because of that, we know that she probably is going to want to see that person's story more often. So I'm going to put her story in the front of those thumbnails of the profile photos in your row of stories that are new. So here, just like an idea of a way to utilize that. Maybe you have reached a point in your conversation where you're still building a relationship with a client and you're not really ready to ask them to be a coach yet, or you're not really directly ready to ask them to sell a challenge pack. But maybe you happen to be DMing with them. Hey, I saw this, like blah, blah, that's cool. I do this too, whatever, just building that relationship. And then maybe you start to like put some stuff on that from that list of 5 on your story, like about your upcoming group, about your sneak peek into coaching, just so that they see your story. And it's not a hard sell, but it's in front of their face, right? Because you guys have been DMing, but then you also have on your story something about the business. And again, that should be in your rotation of 5 that you talk about on your story. It shouldn't be there every day. It shouldn't be there like every other day even. It should just be a part of it when it's natural. It shouldn't ever feel forced, right? Like everything that you post on your story doesn't have to relate to the business. It can relate to picking up kids. It can relate to traveling to selecting colleges for your kids. It can relate to dogs who are scared of everything, like lying behind you on the sofa. Sorry, babe. It can relate to the fact that you like sparkling water. Like it can relate to the fact that like I like to use colored pens in my notebook. Like it can relate to the fact that I don't like to put a case on my phone. Like you get me? Like it's stories, so it's gone in 24 hours. It doesn't have to be that deep, right? So like there's so much, like I know like we get in this area of like overthinking and it just like it turns us into having writer's block, or if you're on video, like whatever, right? So I hope that gives you some ideas to like create content for your stories. So now let's talk about growth. So this is something that I do really every single morning. I was messaging with Julie the other day and I was like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't message you back. I was like doing my morning ritual. And I called it a ritual. I'm not kidding you. Like if I do something that is out of my routine, I will literally like just get so distracted. Like I will forget that I do intermittent fasting and I'll be like eating bacon in the kitchen. Like, I'm just like, what's going on? Like, what happened? Sorry. Why are you like, I didn't mean to elbow you, but you're like under my arm. What's going on? Like, he's so scared that I usually have to keep my phone on silent. Like, you hear my text coming through on here, and that's why he's here. Because he doesn't like the noise that a text message makes because it scares him. Like, that, I'm just like, bless. And, of course, like, he's part pit bull, and, like, everybody's like, oh, my God, he's going to eat me. I'm like, no, he's scared that you're talking. Like, that's what's happening. Anyway, side note, Instagram growth. So every morning I do this same thing. And the really cool thing about this is it doesn't have to be for an hour. It doesn't have to be for 45 minutes. But just know input equals output, right? And you're going to notice this, and all of you should have a business Instagram account so you can look at your analytics and you can see this growth happen over time. Now, I think that it's realistic. If you commit to this, that your Instagram will grow. I'm just going to like arbitrarily pick a number. I'm going to say between 100 and 200 followers per week. If you commit, okay? When I say every day, I mean like 5 days a week-ish. But now granted, the amount of time I spend doing this strategy that I'm about to describe to you is legit probably between 30 minutes to an hour every day. But it's worth my time because I'm seeing the result, right? Like, the same way people commit to our programs, right? If they commit to a week and they're like, holy cow, I'm seeing like the inches fall off and like I'm feeling great and like I'm really starting to notice a difference in how my shirts fit, blah, blah. They're going to commit. Same with you with this process. Like trust the process and just commit to it give it like a week so you can measure your progress and look at the growth and then make your decision as to whether or not to continue with it. So the first thing I do every day, I have a set. Now, I told you guys 5. If you can think of more than 5, that's great. We're going back to the elements of your brand that you're writing down. I think of 5 hashtags that I search out, and all those hashtags are unrelated to Beachbody for me, anyway, for me. And I watch the story of the hashtag. So I'm just going to show you my phone just for the sake of simplicity so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm just going to pick the hashtag Transform20. So I've searched the hashtag. You can see it up top there. And you can see with the little thumbnail up there that there are stories. So like literally what I do is like I watch them every day. Not for this hashtag, but I just click the tile and I watch all the stories. Again, I don't suggest you doing this for Transform 20 because the people doing Transform 20 probably don't want to join your business because they're probably already here, right? So I watch the stories. So like one of them I do is Peloton, right? Because I love cycling. Like it's part of my brand. Like I've been teaching cycling for 10 years. It's my jam. Like if I meet a cycling instructor, like we connect, right? So that's like one of the hashtags I always watch the story for. And full disclosure, like a lot of times I get super distracted. I'm like, ooh, what song is that? I love it. Like it's just like, it's bad. It looks like my ADD when I'm eating bacon. When I'm eating bacon, sorry, my other dog who's playful. So that search out the hashtag and watch the story, right? The next thing I do, step 2, after I'm done watching the story, is I then go to, I'll show you on my phone again here. I go to the recent tab. So it's going to show all of the recent posts for that hashtag. And in a natural and really organic and really authentic way, I look at them and I like the posts that I would legitimately like, right? Like I'm not just like double tapping to where I have arthritis in my thumb. I'm literally like going through them and liking the posts that I would legit like. And if I see something that like really catches my eye, I'll leave a comment, right? Like if it was Transform 20 and someone was like crushing their Transformers, it was a video, I'd be like, way to go, like that amazing job. It's very, very real and authentic. And not only like you should do it to do it, but you should also be aware that like, if you're one of those people that thinks I'm going to shortcut it, I'm going to copy paste comments just in hopes of like expediting this process, Instagram will block you. Like you will get put in Insta jail and you won't be able to comment. You won't be able to like for like 48 hours. I think that's the time frame that they give you. If they notice abuse of liking or of hashtagging, you guys, it has to be organic. Like it has to be, if you want to do it right, trust the process. Like we tell our customers and our coaches and our teams, trust the process and commit. And don't stop, right? Like just keep going. Even like if you can't see it, keep going after it. So that's the first thing, that's the second thing I do is I go through the recents and I like it. And then comment, where necessary. And so that's one of the things that I do. And then so when I'm done with that, I like stop there, pause, move on, usually fill up my coffee, move on. Step 2 is when I then begin to go to the people who I consider my social media mentors. Most of them are like authors or like they're speakers or they're like some people in the fitness world, but not so much anymore. Just because I have a lot of people I love in fitness already. And what I do is I look at the comments of their most 2-3 recent posts, depending on how often they comment or they post. I look in the comments and I thought of this because I'm like, you know what? If people are likely to comment on their posts, they probably are likely to comment on mine. If it's engaging, if it's valuable, right? So I look at the comments, and again, this is like in a really authentic way. When I see people commenting in ways that like I would like or comment, like they use the same emojis as me, like I can just tell we would vibe. I go to their profile and I look at it, and I might like their most recent photo, right? Like it doesn't need to be overly dramatized. Like I don't need to like their last 15 posts, right? Like I don't need that much attention. But I might like their last post or comment on their last post, something totally unrelated to the business. So like, this would not be a good time for you to be like, hey, I saw your profile. Like I have a challenge group, like DM me. Like, please don't, like, don't be the one. If you are the one, you don't have to say anything right now. Like you don't have to we don't have to make eye contact. You don't have to do anything, but just don't be the one. Like don't be that one. Okay. And that's like a really organic process also. And sometimes if like I see the feed, like, like when you look at like their last few tiles, if I really like it, I might follow them because I might think, you know what, like maybe this person would inspire me. Maybe we would inspire each other. Like they might be cool on my team. Like I'm just going to follow them because I feel like I like what they post. Right. So that's the second thing that I do. And then you can sometimes, this is hit or miss for me. Like I don't spend more than like 30 seconds doing this, but I'll go to my explore page, which is your magnifying glass there, and I'll just look and see if there's anything cool for me. Now, to be honest with you, from being in this Beachbody world, like I've been in Beachbody videos, I've been in Beachbody live videos. A lot of the explore page for me is Beachbody customers, which cool, like that's great. But like if I'm trying to think of ways to generate business, that's not like for me. You know what I mean? So look at your Explore page. Don't spend a lot of time there though. Like if sometimes Instagram's really great at putting content up in front of you that will align. And it especially all starts to get connected when you start to follow hashtags and you start to like certain content linked to hashtags. Again, hopefully for you, they're hashtags outside of our Beachbody ecosystem. And then they'll start to put things in your Explore feed that resonate with what you're liking. And once it starts to become outside of that Beachbody bubble, there's a good chance that that Explore page will then be hashtags that you begin to follow and search out and like content related to. Instagram's super smart like that. So like, just be aware of that. And so then the final state, that was step 3, I guess it was. And so the final thing that I'll do is I'll begin to look at the people who are engaging on my stories, and then I'll engage back with them. Like I'll look at people who are looking at my stories, I'll go to their profile and I'll show it some love. Because, you know, like social media should be mutual, right? Like we shouldn't just be putting content out there, waiting on people to run to us and be like, hey, like I want to buy what you're selling. Like it should be a mutual relationship that's built, that's developed, because like what happens after the 30 days is gone? Like what happens after the 6 weeks is over? Like what happens after the sale? Like I know we have challenge groups and I know we have that, but like how do you genuinely invest in people so that they don't feel like that they're out there just to get like a commission made from them or to get something sold to them? Like I always like hate it when people like call me their coach, because I'm like, but I'm more than that. Like I'm not just your coach. Like all the funny thing is like all of the people on my team, they're my friends. And like all the people who have left my team have been people that like I probably wouldn't hang out with. You know what I mean? Just because I wouldn't, like, we don't vibe, and it's not like shady or anything like that. It's just like, if I met you, like we probably wouldn't hit it off just because our interests don't match. And so like the really cool thing about going through all of this with you guys tonight, like identifying your brand and finding your mentors, those are people that you vibe with. Like I guarantee you, anyone on that list of like characteristics that you met, or anyone on that list of elements of your brand, or anyone who you found on social that you would comment on, you would hang out with them because you guys, you just get each other, you vibe. And so that really is like my goal of you with your social media, is hoping that you can just find more friends. Like Julia just said, like we've been talking so much, like she lives in Indiana and I live in Arizona. Like it doesn't have to be local. Like you can have friends that aren't neighbors, or that aren't like 5 minutes from you, that aren't people that you have lunch with all the time. And I think you guys know that because of how virtual our business is, but like the same is true for your team and the same is true for your customers. I think that I haven't forgotten anything. I probably did, and I'll think of it later when I'm at the mall. But I want to look at your questions now. So if like anything else that have come to mind, like drop those in. Let's see. Let me scroll up. Oh, someone said Chris in the comments. And I immediately thought of my other personality. Should we not be reusing the same hashtags all the time? You should not. Just again, and like maybe you asked this before I said it, or maybe you like weren't on the call yet, maybe joined late, but Instagram does pick up on those kinds of things, like repetitive hashtags, and they'll begin to blacklist you. And so like the weird thing is you won't know that happens, but like your hashtags won't become what they call indexable any longer, meaning like you've used the hashtag so many times that it won't actually show up to people who seek out that hashtag. And like, let me just say, I can't think of a customer that would be searching like a hashtag, right? Like, why would a customer be searching a hashtag? So like, again, I said it earlier, you may get likes, you may get a couple follows from like that, from hashtagging, but your customer or your future teammate or your future diamond coach, they're probably not searching for a hashtag. And so that's why I say, like, make it meaningful and make it organic when you like and when you comment and you engage with people, because you will find your customer that way. Like, you will find your diamond coach that way. Like, that's where you'll find them. You won't find them searching out like a Beachbody hashtag. You'll find them because you found them. They won't find you. You'll find them. Someone said, I love the music choice in story, but somehow I lost that option. It's they've moved it. The music option is now, let me just do this right quick. So the music option is now at the top under the little sticky note. So if you tap that, it'll then be in the middle of your screen. It says music. But like for some people it's different. And like the really weird thing is, so when I go to another account, so like this is Sean's account, the music is up at the top. And so it's just like different for everybody. So check those two spots. Because the interesting thing about Instagram, and this is true for Facebook also, your account is in a wave. And so when they roll out new functionality, it's rolled out to the waves of people who joined first. So it's a slow rollout. So like when new functionality comes out, it's not just like, bam, it's there. It's rolled out in waves, in tiers, to the people who joined first. And a lot of times that's true when they change functionality, like music, for example. He wants camera time. He does. Like, look at this. What's even going on? Hello. Oh my God, you guys, funny story. He like late falls out like this. And the very first night that we adopted him, he was like lying on his back, literally like this, asleep. And like I would shake him and like nothing would happen. Like his eyes wouldn't open. And so at the time I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. Because like I have this hyper one here who like is hyper all the time. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. I took him to the vet at 3 a.m, the first night we got him, just because like that's just him. Like that's just what he does. Terrible. And that was expensive too. More expensive than the adoption. So it's better if stories seem random. Yeah, I guess. Random though, like just because it's like, it should just be like what you're doing. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to have an objective to your story, right? Like it should just feel natural. You know, like it shouldn't be scheduled and it shouldn't be like intentional. It can sometimes be, but it shouldn't be like, oh, it's Monday, I should be promoting my business, right? Like it should just feel really natural and go in line with what you're doing. Like every day when you work out, like you don't have to show you're energized every day. You know, like it doesn't need to like be a part of every single day, because people are going to know you do it and they're going to be like, okay, yeah, like I know you did it yesterday, you know? And so like you want to give people less of a reason to skip your story tomorrow. Does that make sense? Like, I hope that like is an easier way of answering your question. Yes, Julie put in notes. That's amazing. Is there any subject that you stay away from, politically related, for instance? You know, there isn't. Like, if politics was like something I was super into, I would probably talk about it. But like not in a controversial kind of way like my mom, but like in a way like that just made it a part of my brand, right? Because everything that is a part of my brand, I'm not closed-minded to. You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to let people in there and like have a conversation. So there isn't anything I stay away from, but I just know like what really like connects with me. And that's what makes me want to connect with other people in the same areas. Is it more important to IG to be consistently posting stories or post in the feed as far as gaining followers and being relevant? Both are important. I wouldn't really say that like one is more important than the other, but I would say that stories are killing it right now. And the great thing about stories is that like you do continue to get your stories put in front of new people. And if you follow, if you are engaging on your stories, meaning like, remember when I said earlier that if you DM with people, Instagram will acknowledge it and then start to like show your stories to more people. The same is true for your feed. Like when you interact with people in your DM, Instagram knows, oh, okay, like this person is either like getting in a closer relationship with this person. So because of that, I'm going to show their content more to them, right? However, that's a two-way street. So just because someone's DMing with you more or you're DMing with them, you also need to be interacting with other people's content on the regular so that the same algorithm happens for them, right? I know I'm like getting like, I'm a nerd also. So like this kind of stuff, like I could just talk about forever. So, you know.
Hey,
like,
Chip, Melissa made a really great point on our call on Sunday. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
She mentioned, and it was interesting because my daughter my 20-year-old, you know, prime demographic for Instagram, had said something about this earlier too. My daughter had been following someone and she hadn't posted on her feed for a while, but she's been super active on her stories. And Josie said, I didn't even notice that she hadn't been posting on her feed because she'd been so active on her stories that she had just, that's where she had been following her. And Melissa's point on Sunday was, if you put bad content on your feed, it's easier for someone to unfollow you.
Absolutely.
Than if you just don't show up for a couple days.
Absolutely.
If you just don't show up for a couple days because you just don't have anything, like you're in a space where you don't have anything valuable to share, you don't show up for a couple days on your feed, they may not unfollow you. And you can still be on your stories. But if you put crap up on your feed, it's really easy to just unfollow you.
Totally. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with that. Like most of the time when I post in my feed, it's a photo from a photographer. Like just because it's got to be good, and not only does the photo need to be good, the content's got to lock. Like it's got to really be there. And I always like there for a while, and I think that it's kind of gone now. But for a while there was this like, you have to post 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, wow, that's just not it. That's not it. Like it's quality over quantity on every single platform. And like, there's nothing that will get you unfollowed or anything like that faster than content that's not visually appealing or content that is invaluable. And I'm sure like you guys would feel the same way. And I don't say that to like block your thought process and make you overthink your post, but I'm sure that like when you see stuff in your feed and you're like, yeah, cool. Like the last 3 photos were of the sunset. Like, cool. Like, you know, like you would think the same thing. Like, why do I follow this person? You know, like, so just be aware of that. When it comes to your IG name, should we stay clear of the health and fitness label? I have been highly considering creating a new IG with entirely new content. So I have 2 thoughts because there's kind of 2 subjects there. Your name is your brand. Like your brand is your name, right? Like just because fitness is a part of your brand doesn't mean it should be the only thing that's a part of your brand, right? So like that would be like saying Walmart is going to change their name to Coca-Cola, but they're still going to sell all the product that they sell. You know what I mean? Like I want you to get to a point in your brand where you're talking about way, way different areas of focus than just fitness. And hopefully like you, after this brainstorm session tonight that we've had, you're able to really identify those areas so that you shouldn't just feel like that fitness or wellness is the only thing that you have to post about. Because once your brand evolves and once you like stick with this and so like what happens if your name is like Joan Smith Fitness and you like someone's post about hair braiding and be like, oh, like weird, right? Weird. It should just be your name. And the second part to that was creative. So I really like don't like the idea of creating another Instagram because I'm like, one is plenty. Like what? Like whoa. Like I can't imagine having more than one. I mean, he has one, and like I can barely keep up with him. True story. Is there a limit to how many IG posts, not stories, just regular posts we should make? No, like no limit. I would just say again, value and quality over quantity, right? Like there are times when I personally feel like you have to know where you are in your brand, right? Like you have to know where you are. If you have a lot of engagement on your stories, post more stories, right? If you don't have a lot of engagement, maybe pull back and say, what can I do to really make my stories unique to me and what I have to offer my followers, right? Because the more dialed in you feel you are on your brand, that's what will allow you to have a platform in which people will really like engage with all of it that you have to offer. Yes, Julie Horace Disney, Julie Horace Travel. Right, all right, exactly. Yes. Shouldn't we be consistent with sharing our journey and stories though, like showing up for our health and fitness every day? Yeah, like I'm not like trying to get you to like not post about it every day, but like there's a difference in saying crush my workout today and 8 stories where all 8 are like a call to action to join a challenge group. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a difference in like, and if your message is, you know what, I showed up today and I didn't want to, you can accomplish that with one story, right? Like you have 15 seconds to speak or you have a photo that you could put up. But it's when it's like, my workout was 20 minutes and here are 20 moves from it, that it's like, okay, cool. You know, like, it's like knowing, it's like walking that fine line of not being overbearing, but being consistent also. Does your phone need to update by chance? So yeah, great. Always update your phone. Update your phone as much as you eat. Does it hurt your brand IG if your photos aren't fabulous? My house is a mess. I would say like your photos. So if your house is a mess, like, you know, like it's okay, but your photos need to be visually appealing. And I like, you can, I always like, I remember if someone would have said to me a few years ago, go get a photo shoot, I'd be like, where am I going to find the money for that? But I found it on Groupon and it was $39 and it was way better than the photos that my iPhone takes. You know, like you can definitely find creative ways to get some good photos taken just to get a start, right? Like until you can kind of find your groove. As far as having a business account, should we be coach, public figure? What should we be? That's really up to you and where you identify. That's not going to like ding you, if you will, when it comes to like searching or algorithms or anything like that. The categorization that you choose, there's athlete, there's coach, there's local business, there's public figure. None of those categorizations will have impact on how you appear in other people's feed. That's it. And Julie, what do you have? Anything?
So, you know, the thing that I learned about Instagram stories when it first came out, I don't know, a couple years ago. And I think I've told my team this before, but it's been a while. We are huge Broadway fans, and we started following a girl that played Jasmine on Broadway. And I don't even know why we started following her. And she did a jewelry company, and we just started following her life. And that's how, you know, I got so hooked on SoulCycle. It's how I learned a lot of stuff about New York and just following her. And when I met her the first time, I felt like we were friends because of what she had shared about her life on social media. Now I had to check myself because we really weren't friends, but that's how she made me feel. And then we have since developed a friendship, but that she made me feel like we were friends because of what she shared about her life on social media. And to me, I think that's the best kind of social media. You should know, from just using as an example, that I love Disney, that I love to travel, that I love New York, that my daughters live there, that we're in the midst of college auditions, that I also love fitness, that I love my team, that I'm doing personal development. Like there's all these pieces of my life, that my husband's a football coach, that we have 2 dogs. Like you should know all of that. So when you meet me, you're like, oh my gosh, how are your dogs? Or I get people that will say, how's your daughter doing in New York? You know, I watched because you moved in. And I'm like, I want that because now we have some connective tissue. So to me, that's the best kind of social media.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is try to pique people's curiosity without giving them all the information, right? Like make them want to learn more, like so that they reach out to you in a way that's coming from, you know what, I saw this and that, like I'm curious about it, right? Like there's no need to like always have a specific call to action. That's much curiosity, you know?
Do you know the question I get all the time?
What?
How do you make your videos so fast on Instagram story? All the time. What app is that? I'm like, the app is called Swipe Over to Time Lapse on your iPhone. That's what the app is called. Every day I get that question. Every day I get that
That's
question.
hilarious.
So funny. Funny. I think that you got them all. Great info. Yay. What's the best way to stay up to date on Instagram algorithms as a non-professional?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now for me, like I listen to podcasts because and this is something that like I thoroughly enjoy learning about, but I also like, while I love self-development and entrepreneurship tips and all that kind of stuff, like it gets old after a while. So I have to rotate the type of content that I listen to, mainly because like I have other areas of interest, right? Other than just like entrepreneurship and self-development. And one of those is social media. So one of the podcasts that I love is called Social Media Marketing. And they have different hosts, different guests, but that's one that I listen to on the regular. But also there are a lot of resources out there online, like courses that you can go through and do that will really educate you well on social media. Again, it just has like don't be one of those people that just like buys it and doesn't commit. Like some people who do our programs, like if you're going to invest in something, you know, do it, like commit and like commit to the outcome of it.
Mm-hmm. The best action that I take, and I don't do it as consistently as I need to, is when I really plan what I want to say when, and with some room for flexibility and spontaneity, you know, when something, because, you know, you and I are enough like that. We're somewhere, we take a class, we read something, and I'm like, I gotta say that, you know, but when I'm thinking about my challenge group or my behind the scenes or what I'm doing that I really want to be specific about inviting people to, when I can plan that in my calendar, so I know, that gives me such a sense of control rather than just fly by. I think if you're just flying by the seat of your pants, you're just not going to put out good content.
Agree. You procrastinate and then you're rushed and then it's not authentic or it's not real, or it may be real and authentic up here, but it may not translate. Like, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but if I open Facebook or if I open Instagram and I see that blank box of text, I like immediately, I'm like, whoa, like, whoa. Like I never post, like type in the post. I take my notes and then I copy paste just because I like the freedom of having space. And I just feel like pressure when I get there. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone else, but it certainly is that way for me.
For sure. It's always in my drafts, or I just email it to myself. I email it and I title it in the subject line, "This is your post for Thursday." And
oh my gosh, that's such a great idea.
Well, I hope you get all the stuff that you need to purchase tonight where I hope you're so funny. You're like, this is not New York City. These places close at 8 p.m.
Lame.
So that's so funny. And I hope you have a safe trip to Virginia this weekend. So I hope it goes well. Wish I could have been there, but you know.
No, I know. Next time.
For sure. Next time. And we'll talk next week about fun stuff coming up. Maybe people on the call might be interested in, but we're not telling them right now. And thank you so much for your time tonight. This was so great.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun. I'm so glad that I had a chance to talk to you guys.
I am too. All right. Safe travels this weekend.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Have a good night. See ya.